Welcome to my views and news. Today is Sunday. On Sunday, mostly we do live chat sessions, but no live chat session today because in the next 2 to 3 days, we are planning to start a Q&A. A host is going to join us, a seasoned lady with vast experience. Is going to be a part of my vision news. She'll be interviewing people here and she'll be a host here. So in the next 3 to 4 days, she'll be here with a Q&A session, and then you will see more programs by that lady. Firstly, viewers, Shire. What is happening on Shire front? What is on the ground situation? Is TDF inside Shire? Where is ENDF? Where is EDF? Have they cut off Shire Aksom Road, Shire Slaleka Road? What is the terrain like to the east of Shire, to the north of Shire? Which side of Shire is strategic when it comes to the control of Shire city? We have some details for you. Secondly, viewers, Joseph Borrell, EU High Representative, a few hours ago spoke about Europe and rest of the world. He used the word garden for Europe, and for the rest of the world, he used the word jungle. What did he say? And Ridwan Hussain, Ethiopian National Security Advisor, today lashed out at Europe, at Joseph Borrell, for Joseph Borrell's remarks about which is a comparison between Europe and rest of the world. Firstly, Shire, what is happening on this front? Some pro-government supporters have taken control of Shire several days ago, but that is not what on the ground situation is. What is matter of concern for Tigray forces on this front is that front line is not 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer away from Shire. Front lines are now very close to Shire. So close that TDF can be easily targeted by ENDF, EDF's artillery shells. Front line is not in Adidaro. Front line is where TDF can take positions close to Shire city, and where ENDF can take positions close to Shire city. Of course, ENDF, EDF are coming from the north towards Shire. Tigray forces have an advantage here, that to the east and little bit to the north of Shire, there are high places. And if anyone wants to take control of Shire city, they must be in control of these high places to the east and to the north, little bit to the northeast of Shire city. Very close to Shire city, not dozens of kilometers away. Tigray forces, their front lines have been broken to the north of Shire. Their main front lines were to the north of Shire, towards Adidaro, but their front lines towards the north of Shire have been broken. Now their front lines are not to the north of Shire, but to the east and little bit to the northeast of Shire. Northeast and east of Shire are the new front lines. And these high places are under Tigray Defense Force control. The road, Shire Slaleka Aksom Road, it passes from Shire through these high places. The road, the high places still under TDF control. there is obviously some TDF presence in Shire city as well. Now, Ethiopian National Defense Force and Eritrean military, they are close to Shire, but they are not in a position to enter Shire. Why? Because mostly to the west, to the northwest of Shire, there is a rather flat terrain. So, if from western, especially from northwestern sides, EDF and ENDF start making a move towards Shire city, they'll be vulnerable to strikes by Tigray Defense Force, which is positioned on the high places to the east and northeast of Shire city. They are very close to Shire, EDF, ENDF, but they're not in a position to enter Shire city. Why? Because high places are still under TDF control. Cross firing is underway. From its positions, TDF is firing at EDF, ENDF and vice versa. People, Shire city residents are caught in the crossfire because there is TDF inside Shire city as well. So, inside Shire, TDF positions are being targeted. Tens of thousands are reportedly fleeing Shire city now. Shire was home to thousands of IDPs and people are fleeing because all day exchange of fire was reported in and in the surroundings of Shire city. How will Shire fall if it fell? Shire will fall after TDF will be removed from Shire Slalaka Road, from the areas to the northeast of Shire. And we know that EDF and ENDF from Eritrean borders, they've been trying to move towards this road through Samima. Through Samima, they want to reach the road, Slalaka Shire road, to cut off this road. But so far the road has not been cut off. So, of course, TDF is under pressure on this front. That front line is very close to Shire city. At the same time, so far TDF is holding ground. It has not surrendered on Shire front so far. But if EDF, ENDF decide to make a decisive move and they launched a major ground offensive on Shire city, of course they'll suffer losses, but that will lead to urban combat definitely. So we can sum up that EDF, ENDF, they have managed to push front lines from 20 kilometers away from Shire towards the outskirts, towards the Shire city you can say, but they are not entering Shire city. That is what we can confirm so far, because TDF is in control of high places to the east and northeast of Shire city. Second was Joseph Borrell, EU High Representative, referred to rest of the world as jungle in a speech a few hours ago, which is being criticized by several leaders of the world. Ridwan Hussein also spoke, Ethiopian National Security Advisor. EU is pressing Ethiopian government to find a peaceful solution to the war in northern Ethiopia. EU has not restored financial aid suspended to Ethiopia last year. EU is demanding withdrawal of Eritrean forces from Tigray, from Ethiopia too. So, EU has been putting pressure upon Ethiopian government, and Ethiopian government's National Security Advisor today lashed out at Joseph Borrell. Joseph Borrell in his speech said that Europe was a garden and rest of the world was a jungle. If garden is not protected, jungle can invade it. So that is why Europeans should engage with the rest of the world. He meant to say, I think, that conflicts abroad should be resolved by Europe. Otherwise, the conflicts will reach Europe too. Ridwan Hussein in his tweet said that is Africa still a jungle to furnish someone's garden? African countries, not Ethiopia, were colonized by European powers. So obviously, Africa suffered at the hands of colonial powers in the past. That is why African leaders are reacting. They seem to be saying that Joseph Borrell's remarks are basically directed at Africa, at the conflicts ongoing in Africa. Though his remarks were general remarks that conflicts abroad should be resolved, issues abroad should be resolved, EU should be engaged, otherwise these conflicts will reach Europe, which is a reality, by the way. What happens in one part of the world has its repercussions in the rest of the world. See from where COVID-19 started, and then it spread across the world. Russia-Ukraine conflict, not just in Ukraine, it is having its repercussions on food prices, on energy prices, on new geopolitical restructuring of the world. Same is the case in Africa. African conflicts have long-reaching consequences. So that is why, technically speaking, he is what he is saying is correct, but he should have used more restrained, responsible language, I think. Take a listen to what Joseph Borrell said. Thank you for watching.
Europe is a garden. We have built a garden. Everything works. It's the best combination of political freedom, economic prosperity, and social cohesion that the humankind has been able to build. There's three things together. The rest of the world, and you know very well, Federica, is not exactly a garden. The rest of the world, most of the rest of the world, is a jungle. And the jungle could invade the garden. And the gardeners should take care of it, should take care of the garden, but they will not protect the garden by walls, by building walls. A nice small garden surrounded by high walls in order to prevent the jungle coming in is not going to be a solution, because the jungle has a strong growth capacity and the walls will never be high enough in order to protect the garden. The gardeners have to go to the jungle. The Europeans have to be much more engaged with the rest of the world. Otherwise, the rest of the world will invade us.